hassle. Try switching.
1.
Just toss the pad. Switch.
Heights, about 20 miles southeast of Sandusky, was among the 13 service members killed in the bombing of Kabul's airport last week. Here's ONN's Brittany Bailey.
His parents released a statement talking about his love for his career in the Navy. They said, "We are incredibly proud of his service to our country, and words cannot express how heartbroken we are with this news, and we will miss Max tremendously." Governor Mike DeWine has ordered American flags to be flown at half staff to honor those killed. I'm Brittany Bailey.
And I'm Dave James on the Ohio News Network.
Live and local conversation for the Ohio Valley continues shortly, here on the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
Now, during the Jim Robinson Ford Lincoln Toyota Pre-Owned Super Sale, select from over 80 vehicles in stock starting under $5,000. Most are local trades, many with one owner. Hurry to Jim Robinson at the Highlands, home of lifetime powertrain protection. Now, during the Jim Robinson Ford Lincoln Toyota Pre-Owned Super Sale, select from over 80 vehicles in stock starting under $5,000. Most are local trades, many with one owner. Hurry to Jim Robinson at the Highlands, home of lifetime powertrain protection.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Have you experienced foot or ankle pain during or after sports, running, or exercising at the gym? Nagging aches in your foot or ankle that won't go away? Podiatric physicians can provide you with important foot care solutions, shoe inserts, or show you how to support your feet and ankles so you're able to compete or exercise comfortably. Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association podiatric physicians are located throughout the state and have been serving the profession and the public for over 100 years. To find a member of the Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association near you, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
Hey man, what can I get you?
Yeah, can I have 2 Coors Lights?
You got it. Hey Mike! I need 2 Coors Lights!
Sure thing.
With a taste as cold as the Rockies, only Coors Light gives you refreshment every time. Here you go.
Thanks, Mike. Doing a great job. All right, 2 ice-cold Coors Lights.
That's the coldest beer I've ever had.
Hey, they don't call it the world's most refreshing beer for nothing.
Okay, be honest with me. Do you really have the Rocky Mountains in your beer cooler?
You don't believe it? Check it out.
Man, that's pretty amazing.
I know, right? I can't believe it myself sometimes. I mean, this cooler is only 3 feet wide.
Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. With great beer comes great responsibility.
Plumbers and Steam Fitters Local 83 want to thank the owners and contractors of the Ohio Valley for using their locally trained workers to help build for the future. Local 83 helps design, fabricate, and build the gas infrastructure for the oil and gas industry here in the Ohio Valley. Plumbers and Steam Fitters Local 83 is 300 members strong and growing. They also do residential, commercial, and industrial work on both sides of the river. For more information, call Plumbers and Steam Fitters Local 83 at 304-233-4445.
Hello, everyone, from the Watchdog. I'm the Storm Tracker, Darnell Foster, with a look at your local weather forecast for your Monday. Under mostly cloudy skies with scattered showers, a daytime high near 82. Scattered showers likely through the overnight with temperatures falling to about 72. Only coming to about 76 for the daytime high for your Tuesday. And a mix of clouds and limited sunshine with scattered showers and thunderstorms on and off through the day. Have yourself a great day, everyone, from the Watchdog. I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
Hello, welcome.
What are you doing today?
What are you doing today? Let's go to the beach.
Let's go to the beach. Come on. Today? Why?
Why today?
It's National Beach Day.
We've got work to do.
On the other hand,
The beach sounds like fun too.
sounds like fun.
Sounds like fun.
Okay, but I'm gonna need some sunscreen.
Your sunscreen.
Oh, don't forget your umbrella. The beach umbrella.
And take your embarrassing beach towel with you.
It's showtime.
Conversations you care about from people you know. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe, celebrating the 100 days of summer.
Well, it won't be the beach umbrella you need here in the upper Ohio Valley today, unfortunately. It will be the real umbrella that keeps the water off your head, not the sun, because it is going to be a very rainy day today. Showers, thunderstorms, daytime high around 81. Just going to be a rainy, soaking kind of rain today. This is because of a cold front coming through. Tomorrow, we start to feel some of the aftermath of Hurricane Ida, now Tropical Storm Ida. It will work its way up to and through the state, probably to the west of us, which is good news, but it will still impact us, and we will see some significant rain over the next couple of days as well. Temperatures drop a little bit over the next couple of days, but we'll see a lot more rain. We do have a flash flood watch in effect tomorrow and Wednesday and into Thursday morning, so be aware of that. 72 degrees right now at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. 74 degrees here at my home studios in the Elm Grove section of Wheeling, and 74 at the Robinson Auto Group Studios downtown Wheeling in the heart of the Ohio Valley. We are looking at, well, it was a foggy morning earlier. Most of the fog here at the home studio is kind of lifted, but it's still partly cloudy outside. So it's going to be just a cloudy and rainy day today. Be aware of that. Where have we been? Where are we going? Latest COVID numbers from Ohio County continue to rise. One local school in Martins Ferry, the St. Mary's School, was closed for a week because of COVID. The AFT president dropped by Charleston over the weekend and urged Governor Justice to impose mask mandates. The governor says, I'm going to wait a while. Protesters against the vaccine mandate at Wheeling Hospital were on hand yesterday around the hospital. Just all kinds of COVID conversation today. Voting rights bill narrowly passed the House, the John L. Lewis bill last week. The Senate is probably not going to follow suit. Ryan Frankenberry from West Virginia Working Families chatted with us about that. The Grinch may hit many kids' Christmas this year as major toy companies say that COVID created shipping problems and increases in cost will mean higher prices, delays, and likely empty shelves this holiday. The toy companies are saying, parents, if you have things your kids want, get them early, get them now. Can't guarantee they'll be around a little bit later on. And of course, Hurricane Ida causing massive problems in Louisiana and the Gulf Coast. It is now a tropical storm. Its aftermath could swing through our area, likely will, not immediately through this area, but we'll feel the aftermath over the next couple of days. Biffy, I still think the most amazing stat, well, two stats. It's amazing to me that this hurricane hit landfall Louisiana 16 years to the day after Hurricane Katrina, that devastating hurricane. What a deja vu all over again that's got to be. But the really statistic, the stat that just absolutely amazes me, Biff, the storm was strong enough to reverse the flow of the Mississippi River.
Yeah, I think
want you to think about that.
That's the one for me right there. That's something, that stat or whatever alone is probably the one thing, excuse me, that I'll certainly take from this hurricane is that right there, what it was able to do to the Mississippi River.
The mighty Mississippi, it's called the mighty Mississippi. It stopped the flow and then reversed it. The Mississippi was going backwards for a while because of the storm. That's unbelievable. Here's a quick update on where Ida stands right now.
After the storm, officials and rescue crews are beginning to assess the damage caused by Hurricane Ida. ABC's Jim Ryan's in New Orleans, and with power in the city out, how does it look this morning?
I can see the gray outline of the buildings here in downtown New Orleans, but those areas down south of here, those swampy, low-lying areas are essentially cut off. In fact, there's a community down there called Cut Off, and for a very good reason. So we'll have to find out in the next couple of days from those search and rescue crews what they discover there. This is a long-term process right now.
And the damage worst south of the city. FEMA Administrator Dion Criswell describing Ida as one of the most catastrophic hurricanes to ever make landfall.
Some of the initial reports that we're hearing are some building collapses across the area, significant structural damage to many buildings.
At least one person has been confirmed dead. Teams from as far away as New Jersey and Connecticut are heading to Louisiana to help. Dave Packer, ABC News.
We will continue following Ida throughout the day today. Its aftermath, again, tomorrow, might see some around here. ABC has continuing coverage throughout the day. Top of the hour, special reports throughout the hour. Now, I want to shift gears a little bit here at 9:16 in the morning on the Watchdog Morning Show. We talk a lot on this show. I talk a lot about the growing rift, the growing difference between the haves and the have-nots in our society. We are seeing a middle class declining, uber wealthy class growing, and a lot of people falling further and further behind. As I often say on this show, it is not wealth that bothers me, it is the disparity in wealth that has become very concerning to me. And because the structure of the economy is so different these days, one place I think we look to make up sort of that difference, if you will, is with philanthropy, charitable giving. But our guest today, Edgar Villanova, who has been with us before, has written on this subject. Edgar, you're not so sure that philanthropy is the real total answer to this, am I right?
That's exactly right, Howard. Not sure that philanthropy is the way. Philanthropy is a good thing. Being charitable is a good thing. But there are structures and loopholes within the charitable sector that may be actually perpetuating this gap that you mentioned.
Well, talk to me about that. Your book is Decolonizing Wealth, Indigenous Wisdom to Heal Divides and Restore Balance. When you say decolonizing wealth, what do you mean by that?
Decolonizing wealth is understanding that the history of wealth, the way that wealth has been accumulated in this country, is closely related to our history of colonization. Colonization, which is this force that started 500 years ago on this land, has been all about the taking of resources, extracting resources from the land and from the communities that have been here, indigenous communities. And of course, when you think about our history of slavery in this country, that's closely tied and really is foundational to how our economy has been established. And so decolonizing wealth is actually being honest about that history and understanding the harmful structures that have been at play and thinking about how we can come together as a community to repair that, to fix that, so that we can redistribute wealth and all have opportunities to thrive in this country.
I get the argument. I get the historical argument, and we have been a colonial society, and we still are in some ways. I don't disagree with any of that. But isn't and so you talk about it, colonialism is basically the taking of things, certainly from Native Americans is the easiest example for us to see, perhaps. But isn't philanthropy the giving back process?
It absolutely is on the surface, but when we examine what's really going on with philanthropy, We are the only nation that has a tax system that allows for wealthy people and corporations, many of whom do not pay taxes in the first place, to take those resources and put them into private funds that they then direct outside of our democratic system, giving them major tax incentives to do so. I'm not totally against the charitable, benefits of having a tax break for giving, but I do think that these folks should also be paying taxes that go, to put resources into our public systems where we have, through our democratic process, all of us have a say-so in how those funds are redistributed. We are talking about $1 trillion that is escaping taxation and going into these private systems. And then when we double-click into that, what we know is that money actually, the majority of that money is not seeing public good. The vast majority of these tax-deductible charitable contributions are actually going into private markets to be invested to accumulate more wealth, or in donor-advised funds where there's no type of mandate that funds actually are paid out to nonprofits for public benefit.
Okay, I'm having a hard time getting my head around two separate issues, and I do get the issue of taxation. I do get the issue of more need for public good to be publicly controlled, but I'm having a hard time comprehending the concept that philanthropy. I mean, I suppose if I had money, I would want to direct it towards groups and organizations that I think are important. What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with that at all. I think that I encourage all donors to follow their heart and to support causes they care about. Where the problem comes into play, we're talking about significant contributions being made by the 1% who have, the power to influence our public systems in a way that's pretty tremendous. One philanthropist can give so much money to, for example, impact our public education system in a way that may not be in alignment with what we as the public, our parents or students want for our schools, for example. And so we just have to be, philanthropy at its core is good, but we just have to pull the curtain back and understand that, one, if there is a charitable deduction for those resources, they should be getting to nonprofits, right? So that's one problem. The money is being held up in various ways that are not transparent and not showing that public benefit, but it also needs to be going.
They often create their own foundations or things of that nature. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, well, if you were a person of wealth and you started a foundation, the federal government only requires that private foundations pay out 5% of their endowment on a 3-year rolling average. This means that only 5% of the money has to actually go out and be invested in nonprofits and in communities. That means that 95% of those resources that you got the tax break for are then invested in public markets, in Wall Street, in private industries. And what we know when we look at the data of where those industries are being invested in, the vast majority of those are harmful and extractive industries. So, quick example, Howard, you may have a foundation that is making grants to support changes in our criminal justice system through that 5% of grant-making money. So doing good things, right? Supporting nonprofits who are working to improve that system. Yet in their 95%, that endowment, they might be invested in private prisons. And so, you have to ask yourself, what is the net value of philanthropy if through the endowments we are investing in harmful and extractive practices that are not aligned with the actual mission of the organization? It might be canceling out the good, which is what is happening all across the sector on a regular basis.
5% is the federal requirement if you have a foundation, if I understand what you're saying, that must be paid back out for the good cause. That's the requirement, but do you have any sense of what the actual percentage is? I mean, 5% is the minimum, but are most philanthropists and foundations and so on only doing the minimum, or are they, going much higher than that, or do we know?
We know from the most recent data that the average is about 7%. There have been lots of campaigns to push foundations to do more. That 5% ceiling was put in place in 1976 because when foundations were really growing in the 70s, many of them were not making any grants at all. And so the federal government had to actually intervene and say, okay, if you're going to have this tax benefit, then you have to pay out a minimum of 5%. Then over the years, that minimum became the ceiling. So due to effective organizing and advocacy within the field, there is a gradual incline. But what has happened is that wealthy folks who are really more inclined to focus on the tax benefit versus the public benefit have organized and created a new type of vehicle called donor advised funds where there is no minimum payout requirements. And so you can go to any financial institution like a Fidelity Charitable, for example, open a donor advised fund, put in millions of dollars there, and that money never see the light of day while you walk away with a tax break. And so this is just a challenge that we have to understand that, giving is a great thing. I think having autonomy and self-determination over the types of organizations that you want to give to is a good thing. But we also should be seeing public benefit for all of those dollars. And organizations that are nonprofits that are sitting on these major endowments should be not perpetuating harm through the types of portfolios and investments that they're making with their endowments.
You make a good point. Earlier you talked about, for example, someone may choose to pick those who have large foundations with large amounts of capital invested into them. And let's assume for a moment they are good, well-meaning, well-intentioned people putting significant amount of money into the good cause. It still allows them to create the priority of what's a good cause.
Yes, absolutely.
It allows them to say, I want to focus on and I'm going to contribute to, with my wealth, making this an issue as opposed to an issue to decide. And education is a good point that you made. I want to get this kind of education system going as opposed to supporting the public education system.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's absolutely a privilege that is held by the donor, whatever the donor's intent is behind the contributions, and that can be problematic, right? Like there's a balance there that when there is such a vast inequality in wealth, when you have the 1% who are making significant contributions toward issues that they care about, and they see the solution through their own lens, and they're investing and funding and, kind of forcing communities to do work in their way in order to receive the funding, that can also be problematic. And so this is where, we begin to see, although philanthropy is a good thing, there is a dark side to philanthropy if things left unexamined. What we also know is that we have a racial inequality problem about philanthropy. By far, when we look at the contributions that indigenous people, black people, other people of color have made to help build wealth in this country that contributed, to these corporations to help build wealth that philanthropists now enjoy having jurisdiction over, we as people of color benefit very little from philanthropy. When we look at the most recent data, only about 8%, so less than 10% of giving that happens in philanthropy goes to organizations led by people of color, serving communities of color. And so there's also that problem where when, it can kind of look like wealthy white people are giving to other, more affluent, wealthy nonprofits. And so for people of color who have not been able to accumulate wealth in this country historically because of, systemic racism and policies, we are really having a hard time engaging with the field of philanthropy and benefiting from the support it can provide.
I have no answer to this. I have no sense of this. Are the large, wealthy philanthropic organizations, those funded by the very wealthy, the uber wealthy, and so on, are they edging out traditional nonprofits now in terms of having more money, in terms of having more influence?
We are seeing a growth in the number of foundations has dramatically increased. The sector as it now exists really started blooming in the 80s because wealth managers saw starting foundations as a way for helping wealthy people build more wealth. No one's ever become, poor or less wealthy by starting a foundation. As as generous as it appears, and with the publicity and press releases that come out about folks making large gifts, no one has ever become less wealthy because of the tax incentive. So, what we are seeing, I believe, in this moment, post-pandemic, post-2020, and the uprising for racial justice, is more of an awareness that we need to be more inclusive in how we're supporting and who we're supporting. And philanthropy itself as a sector has really been under this reckoning journey for the past 3 years to examine our practices and to look at our data. And so there are lots of campaigns, including the work that I lead, to push philanthropy to be more transparent, to be honest, and to be more inclusive in supporting communities of color.
Now, I want to be clear here, or I want to make sure I understand. You're not talking about what I would call traditional nonprofit groups. I mean, American Cancer Society, and maybe some of these you'd want to pick on personally, but American Cancer Society or the Red Cross or the whatever, the traditional ground level nonprofit groups. You're talking about philanthropic foundations. You're talking about the large philanthropy given in large amounts and so on, right? I mean, you're not suggesting people shouldn't be giving to the charity of their choice, right?
No, absolutely not. So when you think about the nonprofit sector, including organizations that you named, part of that sector includes charitable organizations that are the foundations that are sitting on $1 trillion of philanthropic capital that support those organizations. So, for example, like the Red Cross you name, their operations is funded by the generosity of individuals who make contributions, but also large private and public philanthropic organizations that are making grants to those organizations. So we're talking about the swath of the industry that is the philanthropic organizations, and also financial institutions that hold these donor advised funds as well. So it's a pretty large industry in terms of the amount of dollars that are being controlled. And we're also just talking about individuals. So much of the giving that happens in this country is individual giving. So even for our listeners, whether you have wealth or you don't have wealth, most of us are generous people giving money to some place. We all have the opportunity to think about the power of our dollar and how can we advance social progress or help to close this race-wealth gap that exists in this country by the decisions that we're making about our own giving or how we use our own dollars.
You've defined a lot of problems or concerns here. You talk more about it in your book, Decolonizing Wealth. Briefly, what's the solution? Do you have specific solutions? Is there legislation we should be looking at? Is there? I mean, what's the solution? What's the solution to the problem?
There's several things that can happen. Some of the easy solutions are looking at the leadership of these organizations. We have a major diversity problem. When we look at the boards and the trustees of these foundations, we know that more than 90% of the folks who are making the decisions are white folks, many of them affluent, who are really detached from communities, especially communities of color, who are approving strategies and approving allocations of dollars without any type of accountability or influence or input from communities. So there is a vast movement to diversify those boards, to bring in more people who from communities that are being served. That's just the best practice, and that philanthropy is just really late to come around to understand that. I do think that there could be legislation imposed on foundations to kind of pressure them to do that more quickly. In a lot of the nonprofit sector, there are regulations, there are requirements around accountability to ensure that there is fair representation. And I think that foundations getting major tax breaks from the government should also be accountable to the same type of standards that are placed on other types of nonprofits. Because of our power as an industry and because of our, being the gatekeepers of resources, we have escaped that same type of pressure to be diverse and to be accountable. I also think that we could look at that 5% rule and think about increasing that. It hasn't been increased, as I said, since 1976. So I think there's an opportunity to review that, to require organizations payout. And we also should look at this new form of sort of hoarding wealth through donor-advised funds and have a minimum payout requirement on donor-advised funds. So in short, if there is a charitable deduction given to a donor, there should be some accountability and transparency about how those funds are being used to ensure that they are actually getting to these great nonprofits across the country doing this work.
Edgar, I appreciate your time this morning. The book is Decolonizing Wealth, Indigenous Wisdom to Heal Divides and Restore Balance. I appreciate you spending some time with us this morning, and I appreciate the work that you do. Thanks for joining me today.
All right. Thank you, Howard, for having me back.
Have a great day. Edgar Villanueva is the founder and principal of the Decolonizing Wealth Project and advisor to a lot of organizations on the issue of philanthropic giving. And thought it was kind of interesting the things that he had to say there, so I share them with you. It's 9:35, 25 till the hour. Let me just do a quick check of temp. Are we still around 72 at the airport, 73 here at the home studio? Still a little bit of light fog outside, but partly cloudy, basically. We do have a flash flood watch in effect. Actually won't kick into effect until tomorrow and then carry through the next couple of days. Let's check some headlines from Metro News. Mr. DeFabio has the morning sports report for us, and then we'll work our way up to Hoppy at 10 and Bob Westfall from the Big 7 before that, and a couple of odds and ends I want to share with you here in the tail end of the show. We are the Watchdog Morning Show for a Monday.
The Metro News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
To go. He belted a 3-run home run in the bottom of the ninth for that thrilling victory. Pirates are off today. Visit the Chicago White Sox on Tuesday. The Pittsburgh Steelers closed out their preseason schedule this past Friday, losing to Carolina's Panthers. Ouch, 34-9. Pittsburgh finished the preseason with a 3-1 record. In the AFC North Sunday night, the Cleveland Browns on Sunday Night Football beat Atlanta 19-10. The Cleveland Browns unbeaten in preseason at 3-0. And the Little League World Series is history. Michigan's Taylor North defeated Ohio's Hamilton Westside 5-2 in the championship game. I'm Bill DeFabio on sports, and we are the Watchdog.
Hi, it's Hoppy Kirchville. Join me weekdays at 10 o'clock for Talkline. We'll talk about the big stories affecting us in West Virginia, top political figures, sports personalities, sometimes just plain folks offering their opinions on what's happening today. 10 till noon, right after the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
Paint? No. Paramount isn't just paint. It's the #1 paint in overall interior hide and stain resistance, providing the most advanced protection in just one coat. And now you can get that same outstanding protection with our new Paramount One Coat White. This first-of-its-kind one-coat ready mix white provides a beautiful white finish. You'll find Paramount paint exclusively at Menards. In third-party tests, interior paint claims versus super premium home center brands in eggshell sheen.
Are you or your loved ones facing a serious legal battle? The law office of Paul Harris wants you to know you aren't alone. Do you need someone that's not afraid to go to trial and fight for your rights? Attorney Paul Harris and his team are willing to go where most firms are not. The courtroom. With a successful track record in civil litigation, criminal defense, including tax issues and healthcare fraud, Harris Law Office will fight for their clients by offering the most aggressive representation in and out of court. Call Paul Harris at Harris Law Office for a free consultation. 304-232-5300.
Quaker Steak and Lube at the Highlands is the perfect place to relax after a long day. Happy hour from 3 to 6 Monday through Friday. Get $2 off appetizers, $3 off domestic drafts, and house wine specials. Quaker Steak and Lube, voted Best Wings USA. Quaker Steak and Lube at the Highlands with another steal of a deal. Get a steak burger and fries all day Monday for only $8.99. It's also Military Mondays. The Lube will take 25% off for all veterans, active duty military, and first responders. Quaker Steak and Lube, voted Best Wings USA.
Are you traveling? Working a little bit too much? Is your fur baby starting to get a little shaggy? Let Dirty Paws be your one-stop shop for all of your pet care needs. Stop in and see us at 202 18th Street or give us a call at 304-639-7754 to schedule your appointments for dog grooming, doggy daycare, and dog boarding today.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the Watchdog trusts. You're never too far from the most local programming in the Ohio Valley. Find us here. AM 1600 and 1370, FM 98.1 and 97.7. We are the Watchdog. The Watchdog. College football is back, baby. The Watchdog brings your favorite teams right to your speakers. Let's go, Mountaineers! On WKKX 98.1 FM and AM 1600. If hanging with Sloopy is more your style, WVLY 97.7 FM and 1370 AM is home to the Ohio State Buckeyes. The Watchdog is your home for the best in college football in the Ohio Valley.
We're on air, online, on video, and on demand. Find us where you like us. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
17 till the hour here on the Watchdog Morning Show, coming up today at 10:06 after the 10 o'clock news break. Mr. Kirchhoff will be in. Hoppy Kirchhoff will be talking with the COVID czar in the state, Dr. Clay Marsh, with an update. Also, Senator Ryan Weld from our area will be on with Hoppy talking about Afghanistan and his ongoing attempts to get a friend and family and the friend's family out of Afghanistan. Also, Carol Goldstein Asher is a Morgantown native who was in the path of the Hurricane Ida just north of Baton Rouge, and she'll be giving a live update on what's been happening there. And a good bit more. Coming up today, statewide talk line, the Deputy Emergency Management Secretary, Greg Fuller, on the state of preparedness around the state for the aftermath of the hurricane, as well as Randy Weingarten, whom we talked about earlier, president of the American Federation of Teachers, the national president, and she was in Charleston over the weekend, among other things, suggesting that Governor Justice needs to put a mask mandate into place. So that's coming up today, statewide talk line with Hoppy, beginning at 10:06. Our top of the morning has been all morning long Ida and Afghanistan and COVID. One COVID story I forgot to mention. Dr. Scott Gottlieb, who's a former head of the FDA and a member of the board of directors of Pfizer Chemical now, says that Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine could be available to kids under the age of 12 by early winter. I don't know quite exactly what early winter would be, but by early winter, so a 12 and under vaccine could be possible by early winter. That would be a nice thing to have. In Afghanistan, drone strikes blew up a vehicle with what they say were multiple suicide bombers in it over the weekend. The suicide bombers supposedly were targeting Kabul airport. President Biden was at Dover Air Force Base as the bodies of the 13 troops killed in Afghanistan were returned over the weekend. Tomorrow here on this show, we'll continue Afghanistan talk in some depth with our Pentagon correspondent, Tom Squidieri, checking in with all of the sort of pulling the whole story together. Also tomorrow here on this show, we're going to talk about restaurant grants available here in West Virginia. These are grants that are going to be given to, I think it's 7 separate restaurants around the state who agree to raise their minimum wage to $15 an hour. It's being done by a group called High Road Restaurants, I think it is, which is a nonprofit group. Their idea is to try to encourage restaurants to be more employee-friendly and to raise the minimum wage and so on. So they're offering some significant grants to restaurants that do that. We'll talk tomorrow with a restaurateur from Charleston who also is a Charleston City Councilwoman about that subject. So that's coming up tomorrow. And later this week, a WVU professor whose expertise is in the women of Afghanistan. And we're going to talk with Dr. Karen Kolkhazy about her concerns about the women of Afghanistan now the Taliban have taken over. The Taliban have said they're going to respect women more. Their history has not necessarily shown that. Even currently, it doesn't seem to be that they're really holding up what they said. How bad is it going to be for women in Afghanistan? We'll talk about that coming up later this week here on the Watchdog Morning Show. 14 before the hour. Biff, how did our games go this week? I listened to all the games, and I never caught the final scores. How does Central and JM do?
Well, let's start with John Marshall because it was not the road trip that the Monarchs wanted.
But they knew it was going to be tough against University.
Well, I don't think they expected it to be 55-0, which was the final. So, I mean, there's that. And then Wheeling Central played Ambridge very close at the halftime. It was 8-6, and then a big fourth quarter for Wheeling Central put that game out of reach for them. And Central ended up getting the win, kind of wore down Ambridge a little bit in the second half. And again, the big fourth quarter provided the win for Wheeling Central.
And the game of the week that you were sort of picking to watch last weekend was Wheeling Park, St. Clairsville. Park edges St. C just a bit.
Yeah, 18-14, and St. Clairsville had a chance late in that game. They were driving, and Wheeling Park made the defensive stop there with about a minute left in that game, and it preserved the victory for Wheeling Park.
And then this weekend, Park and Central back in action on the Watchdog.
Yes, Wheeling Park, they get...
I said Park, I meant to say. Park is good. We can talk about that. I meant Central and JM, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, we can... we can definitely talk about Park, because if you thought St. Clairsville was a tough road trip to open, it gets even tougher this week as they will be taking on Steubenville. So that's who... That's Wheeling Park's next opponent. And then Friday night, we have John Marshall taking on Weirton. That game at Weirton. And then Saturday, it is, if you have the schedule, it may say 7 or 7:30 on the schedule. That game has been changed. The start time for Wheeling Central and Tuskegee Catholic Central, it is a 1 o'clock game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Central traveling to Tuskegee again, the original schedule, some people may have, it may say an evening game. It is not. It is 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon, Wheeling Central and Tuskegee Catholic.
All right, so that's what we have coming up this week for high school football on the Watchdog. As always, on Fridays, it starts with the Friday afternoon walkthrough right around 3 o'clock. No, not right around, at 3 o'clock. 3:10 to be precise. The Friday afternoon walkthrough with the guys from 3 to 5. The Quaker Steak and Lube Friday afternoon walkthrough on Friday. So that's what we have coming up. I do want to remind you one last time, this will be the last time, that the bidding is closing like now on the auction that's underway that Jim Frio and Shane Stack have going. The 1950 DeSoto Custom, the mid-century furniture, all kinds of other things, and vintage boxing gloves are in that group. A Singer sewing machine, all different International Time Recording Company clock, all sorts of neat stuff. And I always mention it because it's up my alley. Bill Mugie political memorabilia. Bill Mugie, former mayor of the city of Wheeling, former longtime council member. Some of his stuff is going to be there too. Bill Mugie political items, plus a vintage Royal typewriter. I don't know if I have an old typewriter around anymore. I told you last week my son and daughter-in-law got for me a typewriter-style keyboard that I can connect to my computer, so it looks like I'm on a typewriter, but it's actually typed to the computer. Anyway, the auction is wrapping up this morning. It's an online auction only. Find out more details quickly by going to auctionzip.com. You can place your bids if you would like to. The auction conducted by Frio Stack and Associates. It's an online auction only, as so many of their auctions are right now. And again, Auction Zip is where you find out more about it. And there you have the info. 9 before the hour, here on the Watchdog Morning Show. What did I want to do here? I lost my notes. We've got Bob Westfall and or Brenda or someone coming up from the Big 7 in just a couple of minutes to tell us what's going on at Channel 7. And I made it through all the way through the show, baby, all the way through without losing all my stuff, and now I've lost all my stuff. So there you go. How was your weekend? I guess I'll just do that. How was your weekend?
It was good. Hang on, I'll have Bob for us in a sec.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's good. Because I was running out of things. I had some other stuff on my desk, and I don't know where it went to. It's gone somewhere else. So.
Yeah, we've got Bob. And real quick, Howard, I had somebody correct me. I made a boo-boo on our schedule. The Weirton John Marshall game. It's actually at JM, not at Weirton. So John Marshall is playing Weirton. It's a home game for John Marshall. I read it backwards on the way we had it, so that's my fault. But yes, John Marshall is at home this week against Weirton, but Wheeling Central is on the road. So there you go.
All right, and the Central game has been moved to 1 o'clock.
Yes, it has been moved to 1 o'clock. That is an afternoon game.
All right. Let's see what's happening at the Big 7, WTRF TV. Bob Westfall's here. Good morning, Bob.
Morning, Howard. How are you?
I'm good. Did you have a good weekend?
Yeah, it was okay. Nothing spectacular, but it was okay. How about yours?
I just read a lot. I just sat around and read a lot. My grandson was out of town, so I didn't want to play. I didn't have any playmates this weekend, so I
was going to not zing you today, but that was kind of a straight line, but I'll pass it up.
So I didn't do it, and it was too hot to go outside. It was even too hot to get in the pool because it was such that terrible humidity and heat.
Yeah.
So what are you working on today?
All right. Wheeling PD's investigating a fire overnight in South Wheeling, 29th Street fire. Everyone escaped, but no one was injured. The fire remains under investigation. Philip Stahl just sent that press release out minutes ago, so we're going to follow up on that today. Also, an arrest in the bomb threats on Friday. We're being told that the juvenile Belmont County has been arrested. So we'll have, obviously, they're not releasing names or anything like that since he's underage. or they are underage. I don't know if it's male or female, but anyway. So we do have an arrest made in the bomb threats that sent both Union Local and Wheeling Park students home last Friday. So we'll have with that.
And if I understand it correctly, they're charging the person, whoever he, she, or them would be, with a felony. Is that right?
That's my understanding. Yes. Yep. That's what we're hearing as well. So we'll follow up on that. Obviously, we'll as much as we can get. Obviously, with the juvenile involved, we'll let up on that. Obviously, the fire in Steubenville, we're going to try and get some more information on that, where that fire stands, if there's an investigation continuing on that. So a lot happened on Friday. Like within 1 hour, it was a really hot hour for the newsroom. I'll tell you that much. So we're working on that. Of course, we've got Ida heading our way. So we'll be watching the rain as it rolls its way up this way. So Dr. Dave, Aaron, and Zach are all working this week on the weather. So we'll be following that. I think we're talking just on Wednesday, they're looking at like 3 inches, but there's a lot more coming up, for the days beforehand.
Zach tells us, as is often the case, a lot depends on exactly how it tracks when it gets up closer this way.
Right.
Closer to the, if it tracks a little bit more to the east, it could be closer to us and more of an impact. Closer to the west, we'll get sort of the side impact. So, again, it's going to take a little while before we get at least this is what Zach told us, which I assume is true. It'll take a little while to get a feel for exactly how it's going to impact us, but it will definitely impact us.
Right. If you were watching like I was this weekend when it came ashore, it jogged a little to the east, which literally changed everything for New Orleans and things like that. So, just a little bump, a couple degrees east or west could make a huge difference. So, obviously, you need the weather Storm Tracker 7 app. Keep track of what's coming our way. So that's something huge. We'll be following all week. So that's something we're working on. Talking about safety, how to prep for stuff like this. Heavy rains, could be some flooding, thunder, lightning possible, could be power outages. So it's just a matter of just being prepared for the next few days. So we're actually coming up, if I remember correctly, mid-September. I don't remember how long ago, how many years ago, but we were out. Something came through. We were out of power for almost 2 weeks, if you remember. Don't remember the year.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
But yeah.
In Louisiana, it's so weird that Ida came ashore 16 years to the day after Katrina hit.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just weird, weird.
So,
and the stat that Biff and I have been focused on all morning is they say the storm, Ida, was so strong, it stopped the flow of the Mississippi River, and the Mississippi began to flow backwards for a brief period of time.
Yes.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah, and the problem too that a lot of people in Louisiana are facing now is it stayed a Cat 4 for so long. Usually it comes ashore and it just gets beat down, but not in this case. It stayed a Cat 4 for several hours. So we're gonna they're waking up to a lot of mess. I think that was 2008. I was talking about Hurricane Ike came through the area, knocked out power.
I remember that.
Almost 2 weeks. I think we were without power. So anyway, we're just going to follow up on that, keep track of the weather. That's the biggest thing going right now. COVID, we got stuff from Howard real quick. I think Howard Gamble sent out 160 some new cases with
164.
164. Thank you. And a death with 48 below the age of 18 in that number. So we're going to follow up on that today as well.
Lots going on. You'll stay on top of it. We can stay on top of it by listening and watching at noon, 5, 6, 10, 11, 5:30 for the statewide show. And we can also stay on top of it at WTRF.com or your Facebook page. But better yet, we can take you with us. Boy, there's a scary thought, taking you with us. We can take you with us by downloading the Storm Tracker 7 app and the WTRF TV 7 app, the news app. Good thing to have on your smartphone or your tablet at all times.
That's nice. It dig as soon as I can't even respond.
And it's time to go, so I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks a lot.
All right, guys. Talk to you tomorrow.
Have a good day. And Biffy, I'll talk to you tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock, another go around of the big gig. Are you back with me, sir?
I am here for a Tuesday.
Well, we'll keep on doing it until we get it right.
That could be a long time.
Indeed.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
From AB.
All right, Biffy. Yeah, it wasn't too bad. Got a couple of things already scheduled for tomorrow. I'll probably pick up COVID or something else. I don't mean I'll pick up COVID. No, I don't mean that. I mean, I'll probably add something else, but I've got 2 guests tomorrow, so we're in pretty good shape. And everything go all right this weekend? Games went okay? What I heard sounded good. Okay. And everything's working today, no problems, whatever, right? All right, well, I have a dentist appointment again, so it's just a checkup today, so hopefully there'll be no pain involved, therefore no good drugs, but no pain involved. And see, something extra. Yeah, right, that's a good way of looking at it. All right, Biffy, I'll talk to you tomorrow. If you need me, I'll be around. Give me a call. All right, you too. Thanks for your help, as always. Bye.
Pentagon and injuring a third out in Nangarhar province, just east of Kabul. U.S. officials told ABC News that it wasn't in direct response to Thursday's attack on U.S. forces at the airport, but it did degrade ISIS-K's capabilities in the country.
That's ABC's Connor Finnegan. The White House says President Biden is committed to the August 31st deadline, which is tomorrow. The Caldor fire in Northern California growing over the weekend, headed toward Lake Tahoe. More than 400 homes in the area have already been destroyed. EU officials expected to announce today travelers from the United States will be subject to quarantining once again because of the rising number of COVID cases in the U.S. You're listening to ABC News.
I'm looking forward to a play date with my granddaughter.
I can't wait to get together with my friends for a backyard barbecue. If you're 65 or older, you're starting to get back to doing things you love. Did you know even healthy adults 65 and older are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia? It's a potentially serious bacterial lung disease.